Greetings and welcome to Prof. Neil. It's a pleasure with you again on a Friday afternoon, the premiering as usual. Radio commentary taught us much more than just cricket. Well, in those days when I was young, the 60s, late 60s and early 70s and up to about 80s also, we didn't have televised proceedings of cricket matches. We had to listen to radio commentary. But it was nice in a way because of there was no visual, the radio commentators tried their best to describe the scene as beautifully as they could in a visual form for us to understand, as if they bring the ground to the place where we are sitting. It was wonderful, which even TV cannot provide with 10 cameras or 12 cameras. First, we improved our English speaking, listening, and we learned to enrich our English also with phrases and adages and proverbs, using things like as crowded as Brighton Beach on a bank holiday, lock, stock and barrel, which in our daily conversation with no effort, and the delight of the pun. In the BBC Test Match Special team, there was Christopher Martin Jenkins who once just said it, unknowingly said, the batsman is holding, the bowler is holding the batsman's willy. Now, he realized his gaffe and laughed. And the laughter that echoed in the box, it was wonderful. And then after that, came another one. Illingsworth was relieving himself at the other end. So things like these brought us the joy of being funny. And when we heard Alan McGilvray commentating on the Australian Broadcasting Service, in the beginning it was difficult to understand what he was saying because there was a particular Australian accent. So we had no clue in the beginning what he meant by saying, he's hit him hard, high, safe. We had no idea what safe meant. Then it dawned on us, safe means safe. And today means today. And high, there is a different intonation which I cannot resolve. But all these, along with Tony Cozier, the voice of the Caribbean, commentating from the islands of West Indies, with that very nice, soft, West Indian accent, the Calypso accent as we always call it. It helped me personally in the hospitality industry to communicate with guests from all corners of the world and to interact with them too very well because of cricket commentary. We learned geography better. We learned that freemantledoctor is not a medical practitioner nor a general practitioner. He's not a doctor, a medical doctor. A freemantledoctor or a doctor, as it is known, is a sea breeze bringing relief to the areas of Western Australia, bringing relief to them, to the residents there in the hard summers of Australia. It originates from Fremantle in the Perth area, hence it's known as freemantledoctor or the doctor. We knew the geographies of all the cricket playing countries because everywhere they went, everywhere cricket was being played, we heard the commentary. Melbourne, we knew, could have 4 seasons in a day. Might sound like an overstatement, but it is not. It could be bright and sunny one moment, and typically like a tropical summer day, and the next moment would be chilly, cold and chilly. And within a blinking of eyelid, it would be rain, a torrential downpour. And why was that? Because the Atlantic Ocean did all the geographical things there. So we knew the Atlantic Ocean was near Melbourne. So all that you get to know is that I'm sure, if I recall rightly, Melbourne is in Victoria. So Victoria borders the Atlantic Ocean. So we have that in our mind. And then sunburn, we heard of sunburn. But being frostburned, what does that mean? And then we understood that there's a place called Dunedin where cricket was being played. And Dunedin is in New Zealand. It's the closest place to the South Pole. And you can get frostburned there instead of being sunburned in other parts of the world. And then we understood why they could play cricket in England, Australia and South Africa. in England and it's in down under till about 9 p.m., 10 p.m. in the summers. I mean, and in India we had to wrap it up by 5 p.m. almost, at the most by 5 p.m. 6 maybe, but not beyond that. It was because of the higher you go in the northern hemisphere and the lower you go in the southern hemisphere, the days become longer. The more far you go from the equator in the summers. Hence, you get to play cricket till about your sunlight, nice sunlight till about 2100 hours almost, or 2200 hours. We knew verbatim the time zones of Australia. I mean, be it Perth, Sydney, Brisbane, Victoria, Melbourne, because we had to set our biological clock for the next morning to switch on our transistor at the same time, to hear the cricket commentary by Alan McGilvray of ABC. So we knew the hours and difference of hours between IST and GST of all that is playing cricket countries. Because we knew 15:30 hours cricket matches started in England, and so and this time when Perth was some 2 hours ahead or Sydney was 5 hours ahead, all that it was mapped in our mind then. We did not need a Google to calculate us. No. And physics, why and how the ball swings, we learned through cricket commentary. A concept of physics was very clear, and how Sarfaraz Nawaz, the Pakistani paceman, who pioneered the art of reverse swing, how did he do it? We understood then from the cricket commentators. And why in Eden Gardens, Calcutta, in the evenings the ball started swinging in the evenings only, particularly in the evenings, because when the high tide came in, it made the ball swing. So we knew when Calcutta the high tide came in the evening, and this is what led to the cricket ball. Botany. We learned botany on cricket commentary. Rhododendron, the flower, which is native to temperate regions of North America and Europe, as well as to the tropical regions of Eastern Asia, the Himalayas, Northern Australia, and Africa. It is the state flower of the national flower of Nepal, the state flower of Washington and West Virginia, as also of Sikkim and Nagaland. And where did I get to hear rhododendron first? 1983, when Kapil Dev played that priceless knock of 175 not out at Neville's ground, Tunbridge Wells. When he started hitting the ball out of the ground, and the commentator kept saying the balls are falling the rhododendron bushes outside the ground. It meant a quick look at the encyclopedia. What are rhododendrons supposed to be? We never heard that word ever before. And we learned why the Indians felt at ease. They felt as if they're playing in Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, Madras, where they played at Port of Spain in the West Indies. Because there's a huge population of Indians, a diaspora. And it was not surprising to note that the West Indian team had players with names like Alvin Kali Charan, a typical Hindu name, the feet of Kali, and Rohan Kanhai. Kanhai would be a abbreviated form of Kanhaiya Lal, Indian diaspora which settled there after being indentured labor, and their descendants. Rohan Kanhai is a man famous for his falling sweep shot. And which year was the coronation of the Queen? 1953, of course, when how do you remember that? When the Australian 11 went to play a coronation series in 1953 to England. Cultures and traditions. Boxing Day was baffling to this teenager then. I mean, why do you have to put on boxing gloves after the day after Christmas? So the nice festival was my thought. Till I was made to understand that Boxing Day meant you gift each other gifts in boxes. So Boxing Day. And Boxing Day meant we tune into the ABC Melbourne, because that's a traditional test match in Melbourne. And on Pongal, January 14th, the Tamil festival, to welcome the sun god. And traditionally it is believed that the sun god starts his ascent, his journey from down under to our area, to our country. So that is that, and Pongal also is celebrated as Makar Sankranti all over the country and as Uttarayan in the western parts of India. Sociology and history. In 1975, when West Indies toured England, the West Indian bowlers in the test series were seen bowling, where we read about them bowling, we heard the commentary about them bowling, beamers and almost bodyline to all the English batsmen, especially Tony Greig, Brian Close, and all those who stood there, who did not get out and go out, who retreated rather. Because just before the test series, Tony Greig, the South African, remember, so Tony Greig was South African, but reading in England, he had in a press conference said, "We will make them grovel." Those are days of apartheid, a racist slur making them to grovel by a white man that was South African. It incensed the West Indies, and that's what they did with the ball. And I think they got more wickets by their bowling, hitting the body than hitting the wickets. Sociology and history both. And in 1971, why a world of 11? Why the rest of the world 11 was chosen, drafted quickly to tour Australia instead of the South African 11 which was supposed to go? Because in 1968-69, England had included Basil D. Oliveira in their team to tour South Africa. Now, Dolly, as is known as, Dolly was a coloured native of South Africa, but now resident of England, playing county cricket. She was chosen for England, but South Africa refused to give him visa. The tour was called off, and South Africa was ostracized from playing cricket, at least, with Australia and England being the chiefs, then the powers of the cricketing world, as India is today. Hence, in 71, Australia cancelled the South African tour and the rest of the world toured Australia. It was a pity because we never saw the likes of the greats like the Pollock brothers, Eddie Barlow, Barry Richards, Garth Leroux, Mike Proctor, etc. showcase the talent against their opponents on the international stage, like all others did. It would have been wonderful, exciting to watch a South African 11 of that caliber playing against the 70s team of this West Indies. But that was not to be. But South Africans were welcomed back into international cricket in 1991, when in 1990 Nelson Mandela was released from prison. They toured India first, then Pakistan, West Indies, and then India went down, the first team to go to South Africa to play. When Mandela was there when he was alive and he was in South Africa, Sachin Tendulkar, the same sort of Sachin Tendulkar meeting Mandela. So, sociology. And then in 1974, India refused to play South Africa in the Davis Cup final because of its apartheid policy. We forfeited the Davis Cup trophy, but refused to play because of apartheid being practiced there. Embrace the twist to enjoy the turn. Thank you.